I'm grateful you joined tonight. Your body is healing itself right now, repairing damage while you simply exist. You'll discover the healing secret doctors are just understanding and learn why your mind is the most powerful medicine. Welcome to Sleepy Science Night. Now settle in. You're in your safe space while your brain quietly repairs itself, clearing toxins, preparing for tomorrow. Allow yourself this moment of peace. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about healing, from invisible cellular repair happening now, to how thoughts create healing chemicals, to the bridge between hope and recovery. This thoughtful journey through consciousness builds bridges between searching minds. A soft subscribe, like, or sharing your thoughts creates a pathway for more healing seekers to discover and brings us closer to protect this sanctuary. One sleepy soul at a time. Your journey inspires ours. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into peaceful fog of approaching sleep. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. In sleep laboratories across many countries, researchers have observed a gentle pattern emerging. People who practiced forgiveness tended to fall asleep more easily, rest more deeply, and wake feeling restored. This observation appeared consistently across multiple studies, in different cultures, different populations. A research team at Luther College examined 1,423 Americans and discovered a clear correlation. Those who forgave themselves and others reported better sleep quality, longer sleep duration, and improved overall health. The connection was measurable, repeatable, present across age groups. Yet beneath this simple observation lay something more complex. What exactly happens in the brain when someone forgives? Why would releasing anger help you rest? The answer would reveal something profound about how your nervous system recognizes peace. The investigation began with a question worth exploring. Your nervous system responds to emotional pain, much like it responds to physical discomfort. When you hold on to resentment, your body maintains a quiet state of alert, as if the hurt might return at any moment. Research from the National Sleep Foundation in 2025 revealed that 65% of American adults reported feeling exhausted when thinking about sources of anger in their lives. 55% reported feeling angry, always or often. These aren't abstract emotions. They're physical states your body experiences. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your muscles maintain subtle tension. Stress hormones circulate at elevated levels. All of this happens below conscious awareness, quietly, persistently. Even as you lie in bed, trying to rest, your body remains gently alert. Sleep researchers began wondering, what if forgiveness helps you sleep because it finally signals your body the concern has passed? Sleep is fundamentally a state of perceived safety. Your brain will not allow you to enter deep sleep if it senses concern. This makes evolutionary sense. Sleeping while threatened meant vulnerability for our ancestors. The mechanisms that kept them alive still quietly govern your rest today. When you lie down at night, your brain performs a safety assessment. It notices physical comfort, certainly, but also psychological ease, unfinished conflicts, unresolved feelings, people you haven't forgiven. Each of these registers as something requiring attention. Studies published in 2024, examining heart rate variability during sleep, found that people holding on to resentment maintained higher baseline arousal, even while unconscious. Their bodies never fully settled. Something worth exploring. How might forgiveness communicate safety to a nervous system evolved to protect you? The answer begins in a small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain called the amygdala. This ancient part of your brain serves as your emotional awareness system, constantly noticing patterns. Research from December 2024, using functional MRI scans, showed that when people recalled someone who wronged them, their amygdala showed increased activity. Similar patterns appeared when viewing images that suggested concern or uncertainty. The amygdala processes memories of hurt without tracking time. A memory from years ago can activate the same gentle alertness in your body as something that happened this morning. This ancient part of your brain simply responds to what it perceives. When you hold on to unforgiveness, you're maintaining a state of heightened awareness. The connection was becoming clearer, but the full picture remained incomplete. Something worth noticing emerges when we examine how brain regions communicate. When you're stressed or holding on to difficult feelings, your amygdala sends ongoing signals to another brain region, your prefrontal cortex. This is the wise, reflective part of your brain located right behind your forehead. The prefrontal cortex normally helps regulate the amygdala, quieting it when concerns aren't immediate. Think of it as a calm presence, soothing an anxious companion. Studies from 2024 examining sleep-deprived individuals found something noteworthy. When people hadn't slept well, the connection between their prefrontal cortex and amygdala weakened measurably. Without sleep, the prefrontal cortex couldn't calm the amygdala effectively. Research revealed something worth considering. Unforgiveness appears to create a similar pattern of disconnection between these brain regions. The pattern was revealing a circular relationship. Scientists call this the prefrontal amygdala circuit, and it's central to emotional regulation. Research published in February 2024 in the Journal of Sleep Research showed that after just one night of sleep deprivation, this circuit's connectivity decreased by measurable amounts. The amygdala became more reactive, while the prefrontal cortex grew quieter, less able to provide its calming influence. People in this state exhibited stronger emotional responses to difficult stimuli. They became more reactive, more easily stirred, less able to regulate their feelings. Consider what happens when this state is maintained through unforgiveness. You're essentially choosing the neural pattern of exhaustion. The pattern was beginning to reveal its first layer. Forgiveness and sleep might share common neural pathways. Both involve the prefrontal cortex, successfully regulating the amygdala. Both require feeling safe enough to release vigilance. Let's examine what happens in your body when you hold on to difficult feelings. Your sympathetic nervous system, the system governing alertness and response, remains gently activated. This sympathetic activation triggers a cascade of physiological changes. Your adrenal glands become involved in the stress response. The outer layer releases cortisol, which can remain elevated for hours. The inner portion can release epinephrine during moments of acute stress. Both influence your readiness for rest. Your heart rate increases slightly but persistently, blood vessels constrict gently, raising blood pressure. Your immune system shifts resources toward inflammation responses. Research from late 2024 measuring cortisol levels found that people reporting difficulty with forgiveness showed elevated cortisol even at night, when it should naturally decrease. This hormonal state quietly opposes sleep preparation. Cortisol deserves special attention in our exploration. This hormone follows a natural rhythm, higher in the morning to support waking, declining through the day, reaching its lowest point during deep sleep. This pattern, called the circadian rhythm of cortisol, is essential for quality rest. Research examining cortisol patterns in 2025 showed that chronic stress disrupts this rhythm. Instead of declining at night, cortisol remains elevated. People holding on to difficult feelings showed this disrupted pattern consistently. Their bodies couldn't perform the natural wind-down that precedes sleep. Yet here's something encouraging. When study participants practiced forgiveness interventions, their cortisol rhythms began normalizing within weeks. The hormone followed its intended pattern again. Forgiveness appeared to restore something fundamental in the body's natural cycles. Another piece of the pattern involves something researchers call rumination. This is the process of repetitively thinking about upsetting events, replaying conversations, imagining what you might have said differently. A 2024 study on the neuroscience of rumination revealed that this mental activity involves specific brain networks. When you ruminate, your default mode network, the parts of your brain active during quiet moments, becomes focused on negative, repetitive thoughts. The medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex, normally involved in healthy self-reflection, instead loop through the same troubling scenarios. Research from November 2025 found that rumination about unresolved conflicts strongly predicted insomnia. People couldn't quiet their minds from replaying what hurt them. The pattern was revealing how thoughts themselves can interfere with rest. The pattern becomes clearer now. Forgiveness helps you sleep because unforgiveness quietly maintains several biological processes that gently interfere with rest. Your amygdala remains alert, noticing potential concerns. Your prefrontal cortex grows tired, trying to regulate emotions without sufficient rest. Your stress hormones stay elevated when they should decline. Your mind reflects repeatedly instead of settling. Each of these factors alone would make rest more difficult. Together, they create a state that doesn't easily support deep sleep. Researchers realized they weren't studying one simple mechanism, but rather an entire biological cascade. Forgiveness doesn't just help you sleep through one simple pathway. It addresses multiple systems simultaneously. Perhaps it's worth considering how these systems work together. The investigation continued deeper. Researchers began examining what forgiveness actually represents. Neurologically speaking, they discovered it's not passive forgetting or dismissal. Brain imaging studies show that forgiveness involves active cognitive reappraisal. You consciously reframe how you interpret the difficult event. This reappraisal activates specific regions of your prefrontal cortex, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. This area specializes in cognitive control and emotional regulation. When activated, it sends quieting signals to your amygdala, essentially communicating that the threat assessment can be adjusted. Studies from 2024 showed that practicing forgiveness increased activity in these regulatory regions, while simultaneously decreasing amygdala reactivity. Your brain was learning a new pattern. The awareness could settle. The nervous system could shift modes. The evidence was accumulating toward a clearer understanding. Let's examine the parasympathetic nervous system, your body's rest and restoration mode. This system counterbalances the sympathetic alertness response. The parasympathetic system is largely governed by a remarkable nerve called the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in your body. This nerve runs from your brainstem down through your neck, into your chest and abdomen, connecting with your heart, and digestive organs. Research from December 2025 on vagus nerve function revealed something fascinating. Activities that promote forgiveness, compassion meditation, cognitive reappraisal, release exercises, all increased vagal tone. Vagal tone measures how active your vagus nerve is. Higher vagal tone means better parasympathetic activation. Better parasympathetic activation means easier access to restful states. The pattern was biological. Forgiveness activates peace. The vagus nerve connection revealed another layer. Studies examining heart rate variability, the variation in time between heartbeats, found that people who scored higher on forgiveness measures had notably higher heart rate variability. This metric indicates a healthy, flexible nervous system that can shift between activation and rest. Higher heart rate variability correlates strongly with better sleep quality. Research from 2024 showed that people with lower forgiveness scores had decreased heart rate variability, suggesting their nervous systems remained in a more constant state of sympathetic activation. They couldn't easily shift into parasympathetic rest mode. Their hearts beat with more mechanical regularity, lacking the healthy variation that signals flexibility. Forgiveness appeared to restore this flexibility, this biological readiness to rest. Let's look at sleep architecture itself, the structure of how you cycle through sleep stages. Normal sleep involves moving from light sleep through deeper stages, eventually reaching REM sleep, where dreams occur. Research published in early 2025 examining sleep patterns found that people experiencing high rumination and low forgiveness spent less time in deep sleep stages. They experienced more frequent, gentle returns to lighter sleep and more fragmented rest overall. Brainwave monitoring showed their sleep contained more beta waves, the faster waves associated with alert, active thinking, when it should contain slower delta waves indicating deep rest. Their brains couldn't fully transition into deep sleep states. Something kept gently pulling them back toward wakefulness. Halfway through establishing our pattern, researchers noticed common threads in who struggled most with sleep. Veterans with PTSD showed reduced resting respiratory sinus arrhythmia, a measure of vagal control over heart rate. They often experienced difficulty forgiving themselves and others. Patients with depression exhibited similar patterns. People with anxiety disorders showed more reactive amygdala and quieter prefrontal regulation. In each case, difficulty with forgiveness correlated with specific, measurable changes in nervous system function. The pattern connected to mental well-being. Unforgiveness wasn't just about hurt feelings. It represented a biological state characterized by heightened awareness, sympathetic activation, and regulatory fatigue. Sleep became affected in a nervous system maintaining gentle alert. The pattern was undeniable now. Memory processing during sleep provides another thread. Research examining how the brain consolidates memories during REM sleep found something noteworthy. During this stage, emotional memories get processed and integrated. The brain reviews the day's experiences, strengthens important connections, releases irrelevant ones. Studies from 2024 showed that during REM sleep, theta frequency rhythms between the medial prefrontal cortex and amygdala facilitate emotional memory consolidation. This process allows you to remember events without remaining controlled by the emotions originally attached to them. The emotional intensity diminishes. Yet here's something important. This processing only occurs if you actually reach sufficient REM sleep. When sleep is disrupted, memories remain more emotionally charged. Let's examine what happens to difficult memories. The infralimbic cortex, part of your medial prefrontal cortex, plays a role in quieting fear memories through a process called fear extinction. During REM sleep, this brain region strengthens its connections to the amygdala, while simultaneously weakening connections from the amygdala back to it. This asymmetric strengthening allows what researchers call top-down regulation. Your reflective brain gains more influence over your emotional awareness system. Research showed this process requires adequate REM sleep. Without it, difficult memories don't resolve as easily. They remain more potent. If unforgiveness interferes with deep sleep, memories of being hurt can't properly integrate. Now we can understand why traumatic memories sometimes feel so immediate even years later. Studies examining PTSD found that disrupted REM sleep prevented proper emotional memory processing. The difficult event remained neurologically unresolved. The amygdala continued responding to memory as if it represented present concern. Research from 2025, examining forgiveness interventions in PTSD patients, found that as people practiced forgiveness, their sleep quality improved, and simultaneously, their traumatic memories became less intrusive. The emotional intensity decreased. Brain scans showed more normalized connectivity between prefrontal cortex and amygdala. The pattern suggested forgiveness, sleep, and memory processing form an integrated system. Each supports the others. The inflammatory system adds another dimension. Inflammatory markers in the blood, substances like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6, showed measurably higher levels in people reporting difficulty with forgiveness. These molecules don't just affect physical healing. They can cross into the brain and influence sleep architecture. Studies from late 2024 showed that elevated inflammation disrupted sleep structure, particularly reducing time spent in deep, restorative sleep stages. The inflammation-sleep connection worked in both directions. Poor sleep increased inflammation. Inflammation disrupted sleep. Forgiveness interventions that decreased difficult feelings also decreased inflammatory markers. The evidence suggested forgiveness might support anti-inflammatory processes at a biological level, promoting conditions necessary for rest. Let's examine the concept of perceived concern versus actual concern. Your nervous system doesn't evaluate whether holding difficult feelings is justified or whether it makes logical sense. It simply responds to your interpretation that someone remains a potential source of hurt to you. Studies examining perception found that even thinking about people who wronged you activated brain regions associated with anticipating discomfort. Your body prepared for conflict that wasn't happening. resources diverted toward vigilance instead of restoration. This allocation of resources had consequences. Less energy available for cellular repair, reduced efficiency in clearing metabolic waste, decreased production of growth hormone released mainly during deep sleep. Brain chemistry reveals more threads. Research examining neurotransmitter systems found that chronic stress and unforgiveness altered serotonin and GABA function, your brain's main calming neurotransmitters. Serotonin, which normally promotes flexible thinking and emotional balance, showed reduced activity in people holding long-standing resentments. GABA, which quiets neural activity and facilitates sleep onset, became less effective. Meanwhile, glutamate, an excitatory neurotransmitter, remained elevated. The brain's chemical balance tilted toward activation rather than rest. Studies showed that practices promoting forgiveness helped restore this balance over weeks. The chemistry supporting sleep could recover, but it required shifting how you related to past hurt. The gut-brain connection provides unexpected insights. Your vagus nerve carries information from your digestive system to your brain. Research examining the gut-brain connection found that chronic stress alters gut bacteria composition. These changes in gut microbiota can influence both mood and sleep through chemical signals carried by the vagus nerve. While the direct link between unforgiveness and microbiome remains under study, the pathway from emotional stress through gut health to sleep quality appears increasingly supported. Interventions combining forgiveness practices with stress reduction techniques improved both psychological measures and gut microbiome diversity. The connection between emotional state and physical health extended surprisingly deep. Social connection adds another layer. Studies examining vagal tone found that positive social interactions activate the ventral vagal complex, the newest evolutionary addition to the parasympathetic system. This social engagement system promotes feelings of safety through connection. Psychological research suggests that forgiveness often involves shifting how we evaluate social relationships. Brain imaging shows that when people practice forgiveness, regions associated with social connection become more active, even during private reflection. This increased sense of connection activated parasympathetic responses conducive to sleep. Social safety and physical safety became linked in your nervous system's evaluation. Let's consider what researchers call maladaptive rumination. This describes the pattern where thinking about difficulties doesn't lead to resolution but instead loops endlessly. Brain imaging studies showed that during maladaptive rumination, connectivity between the frontoparietal network and default mode network becomes less coordinated. The networks that should work together to process experiences instead interfere with each other. Research from 2024 found that this pattern was especially prominent at night in people reporting high unforgiveness. Their problem-processing networks couldn't disengage. Sleep became difficult because the brain wouldn't stop trying to resolve unresolvable past hurts. So the evidence accumulates from multiple directions. Neuroscience shows specific brain circuits involved. Endocrinology reveals hormonal patterns. Immunology points to inflammation. Physiology demonstrates nervous system states. Psychology identifies cognitive patterns maintaining activation. Each scientific discipline adds pieces to the same understanding. The pattern is revealing its structure now. Forgiveness helps you sleep because unforgiveness is biologically costly. It maintains your body in a state designed for short-term alertness, not long-term well-being. Your system becomes tired, maintaining vigilance against concerns that exist only in memory. The mechanism is becoming clear. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence. Heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem, diverse, self-balancing. Now we continue. Now we gather more specific evidence. Research examining sleep stages in detail found that people scoring higher on forgiveness measures spent an average of 23 minutes longer in REM sleep per night than those scoring lower. That's over 2.5 hours more REM sleep per week. REM sleep is where emotional processing occurs, where memories integrate, where the brain makes sense of experience. This isn't a minor difference. Those extra minutes translate into measurably better emotional regulation, memory consolidation, and cognitive function. The researchers measured this consistently across 277 college students. The finding appeared again in a study of 81 middle-aged adults. Once more, in a study of 80 adults. The correlation appeared universally. Forgiveness predicted sleep quality, with correlations around 0.40, quite substantial for psychological research. The evidence was becoming robust. Scientists investigated whether different types of forgiveness mattered. They distinguished between forgiving others and forgiving yourself. Both forms showed correlations with better sleep, but through slightly different mechanisms. Forgiving others reduced interpersonal concern, perception, and social stress. Forgiving yourself decreased ruminative self-criticism and feelings of shame. Brain imaging revealed that self-forgiveness specifically activated the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a region involved in self-referential processing and emotional regulation. When people practiced self-forgiveness, this region showed increased connectivity to areas generating feelings of compassion rather than self-judgment. Both types of forgiveness improved sleep, but self-forgiveness particularly addressed the internal critic that often keeps people awake at night. That voice, noting your mistakes, replaying your regrets. Forgiveness could quiet it. Let's examine research on forgiveness interventions. Scientists designed 8-week programs teaching forgiveness skills, cognitive reappraisal, perspective taking, compassion exercises. Participants who completed these programs showed measurable improvements in sleep quality within 4 weeks. By 8 weeks, they reported falling asleep an average of 15 minutes faster and experiencing 40 fewer nighttime awakenings per month. Heart rate variability increased by measurable amounts. Cortisol patterns normalized. Yet perhaps most encouraging, these sleep improvements persisted at 6-month follow-up. The benefits weren't temporary. Learning to forgive created lasting changes in how the nervous system responds to memories of hurt. The skill became integrated. The brain learned a new default response. The evidence showed forgiveness was something you could develop. Comparison studies revealed something noteworthy. Researchers tested forgiveness interventions against other stress reduction techniques. Progressive muscle relaxation, general meditation, cognitive therapy. All techniques improved sleep to some degree. Yet forgiveness interventions showed specific advantages for people whose sleep difficulties related to interpersonal conflicts or self-criticism. These weren't just general relaxation benefits. Forgiveness addressed something specific about how the brain processes social and self-directed concern. The findings suggested different sleep difficulties might benefit from different approaches. If your insomnia stems from holding difficult feelings or being hard on yourself, forgiveness practices work better than generic relaxation. The intervention could match the mechanism, the understanding refined toward personalized approaches. Let's look at what happens during the process of forgiving. Studies had people practice forgiveness while in fMRI scanners, as participants imagined forgiving someone who hurt them. Researchers watched their brains in real time. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex activated. That's executive control, decision-making, conscious regulation. Simultaneously, the amygdala's activation began decreasing. The alertness response dimmed. Activity increased in the anterior cingulate cortex, a region involved in noticing and resolving internal conflicts. The brain was literally processing and resolving conflict at a neural level. This wasn't metaphorical. Forgiveness represented specific, observable changes in brain activity patterns. The mechanism was becoming visible. Temperature regulation provides another thread. Your body temperature drops slightly as you prepare for sleep. This cooling is necessary for sleep onset. Studies measuring core body temperature found that people in states of heightened stress maintained slightly elevated temperatures at night. The metabolic activation from stress hormones generated subtle excess warmth. Research examining people before and after forgiveness interventions found that as participants' forgiveness scores increased, their nighttime temperature patterns normalized. The body could cool properly. This might seem like a small detail, but temperature regulation is important for sleep. Even a half-degree difference affects sleep quality. Forgiveness allowed the body's cooling system to function naturally. Melatonin production adds another piece. This hormone, released by your pineal gland, regulates your sleep-wake cycle. Light suppresses it. Darkness triggers its release. Yet stress and cortisol also influence melatonin. Even in darkness, elevated cortisol from stress can interfere with melatonin production. Studies show measurably lower melatonin levels in people experiencing chronic stress, though the exact amount varies between individuals. Research measuring melatonin levels before and after forgiveness training showed that as stress hormones decreased, melatonin production normalized. The body's master sleep signal could function properly again. Forgiveness removed a biochemical interference with sleep preparation. Let's examine breathing patterns during sleep. Normal sleep breathing shows regular, relaxed patterns. Studies monitoring respiration found that people with unresolved difficult feelings showed more irregular breathing during sleep, with periodic brief returns to lighter sleep. Their breathing never fully settled into the deep, slow pattern of restful sleep. These micro-arousals, often unconscious, fragment sleep architecture. Research measuring respiratory patterns during forgiveness meditation found immediate changes. Breathing slowed, deepened, became more regular. The parasympathetic nervous system engaged. With practice, these changes became the new nighttime baseline. The body learned to breathe peacefully again. Muscle tension reveals more. Sleep studies using electromyography measured muscle activity during supposed rest. People holding resentment maintained subtle muscle tension, particularly in the jaw, shoulders, and neck, even while apparently sleeping. True rest requires muscle relaxation. Research examining progressive muscle relaxation combined with forgiveness practices found synergistic effects. Addressing both the physical tension and the emotional source produced better results than either alone. The body holds difficult feelings, literally. Muscles that tense during stress stay partially tense later. Forgiveness allows muscles to finally, fully release. The physical and emotional cannot separate completely. Energy expenditure provides insight. Your body uses energy differently when stressed versus relaxed. Metabolic studies found that maintaining vigilance requires sustained energy expenditure even during rest. People with lower forgiveness scores showed elevated resting metabolic rates at night. Their bodies burned more calories doing nothing, as if preparing for action. This metabolic activation directly opposes the energy conservation that normally occurs during sleep. Research showed that as forgiveness increased, resting nighttime metabolism decreased to healthier levels. The body could finally shift into repair and restoration mode rather than maintaining readiness. Oxidative stress adds another dimension. Stress generates free radicals, unstable molecules that can affect cells. Your body has antioxidant systems to neutralize these, but chronic stress can strain these defenses. Research measuring oxidative stress markers found elevated levels in people reporting low forgiveness. Sleep normally activates antioxidant systems and cellular repair processes. Yet if you never fully sleep deeply, this protection diminishes. Studies showed that improving sleep through forgiveness interventions decreased oxidative stress markers. The body could finally perform its nightly maintenance without interruption. Cellular health improved when the mind released difficult feelings. Pain perception connects to our exploration. Studies found that people who hadn't slept well reported greater pain intensity from identical stimuli compared to rested people. The sleep-pain connection works in both directions. Pain disrupts sleep. Poor sleep increases pain sensitivity. Research examining chronic pain patients found that those who practiced forgiveness, including forgiving themselves for limitations caused by pain, reported both better sleep and reduced pain intensity. The forgiveness-sleep-pain relationship became clear. Addressing any point helped the others. The systems interconnect more deeply than isolated symptoms suggest. Decision-making and impulse control reveal more threads. The prefrontal cortex governs these executive functions. Sleep deprivation impairs prefrontal function, leading to less optimal decisions and reduced impulse control. Research showed that unforgiveness creates similar impairments, even with adequate sleep time. The constant cognitive work of maintaining resentment uses prefrontal resources. Studies measuring decision-making quality found improvements after forgiveness interventions. Executive function recovered. The prefrontal cortex could do its work properly when not constantly managing difficult feelings. Clearer thinking returned. Let's examine brainwave patterns more closely. EEG studies tracking brain electrical activity throughout the night found distinct differences. People higher in forgiveness showed more sleep spindles during stage 2 sleep. These are bursts of activity associated with memory consolidation. They also showed more slow-wave activity during deep sleep, indicating better recovery. People lower in forgiveness showed more high-frequency beta activity. even during deep sleep stages. Their brains couldn't fully transition into restorative states. The electrical signature of peace versus unrest was measurable. At this midpoint in our exploration, the evidence converges. From multiple scientific disciplines, different research methods, various populations, the same pattern emerges. Unforgiveness maintains your nervous system in a state that doesn't easily support deep rest. It activates awareness responses, affects regulatory circuits, alters hormone patterns, influences neurotransmitter balance, and interferes with the deep sleep stages necessary for healing. The pattern is half revealed. We know unforgiveness affects sleep. Now we must understand exactly how forgiveness reverses this. The mechanism awaits fuller discovery. You're still here with me, thoughts still flickering like candlelight. Just notice. Don't judge. Just notice where your mind is. We're exploring consciousness itself, the very thing doing the exploring right now. Strange, beautiful, and perfectly calm. Let's drift onward together. Now we reach an important insight. The breakthrough came when researchers realized forgiveness isn't passive acceptance or dismissal. Brain imaging revealed forgiveness as an active cognitive process involving specific prefrontal regions. When you forgive, you're not ignoring what happened or saying it was acceptable. Instead, you're engaging executive control regions to deliberately reinterpret how you relate to the event. This reinterpretation doesn't excuse harmful actions. Rather, it releases your nervous system from perceiving ongoing concern. Studies showed this distinction was important. Participants who understood forgiveness as active cognitive choice, not passive acceptance, showed the strongest sleep improvements. They weren't dismissing harm. They were choosing to release their nervous system from constant vigilance over past events. This conceptual shift changed everything. The default mode network provides deeper understanding. This brain network activates when your mind wanders, during rest, when you're not focused on external tasks. It includes the medial prefrontal cortex and posterior cingulate cortex. In healthy individuals, this network supports self-reflection, planning, and consolidating memories. Yet in people with unresolved difficult feelings, the default mode network becomes dominated by negative rumination. Brain connectivity studies from 2024 showed unusual patterns. Excessive connectivity to the amygdala, weakened connectivity to regulatory regions. The network meant for constructive self-reflection instead loops through resentment and hurt. Forgiveness interventions normalize these connectivity patterns. The default mode network could return to its intended function. Restful mental processing rather than repetitive reviewing of past wrongs. Let's examine the concept of concern deactivation. Your amygdala tags certain memories as potentially concerning. Once tagged, these memories trigger alertness responses whenever recalled. Research using fear conditioning paradigms showed that the infralimbic cortex, part of your medial prefrontal cortex, can gradually deactivate these tags through a process called extinction learning. During this process, you're exposed to the concern-inducing stimulus without negative consequences. Gradually, the amygdala learns the stimulus is safe. Forgiveness works through a similar mechanism. By repeatedly recalling hurtful events while activating compassion and understanding rather than anger, You're essentially supporting your amygdala in learning. The person who hurt you is no longer triggering strong alertness responses. Sleep becomes more accessible. Vagus nerve activation through forgiveness practices reveals the mechanism more clearly. Studies measuring vagal tone, using heart rate variability, found that compassion meditation, a common forgiveness practice, immediately increased vagal activity. Within minutes of beginning the practice, participants showed measurable shifts toward parasympathetic influence. Their heart rate decreased, breathing slowed and deepened. The digestive system relaxed. Blood pressure dropped. These aren't minor changes. They represent a fundamental shift in nervous system state. With regular practice, this became more available as a baseline. The nervous system learned to default to a calmer state. At night, this meant easier sleep onset. Here's something worth considering. Sleep is not just the absence of wakefulness. It's an active state requiring specific brain configurations working together. Your prefrontal cortex must release conscious control. Your amygdala must quiet. Your default mode network must shift into its restorative mode. Neurotransmitters must rebalance. Hormones must follow circadian patterns. Body temperature must drop. Muscles must release. This complex orchestration only occurs when your nervous system perceives safety. Unforgiveness interferes with each of these changes. Forgiveness allows them. The mechanism isn't one simple thing. It's the restoration of the entire sleep-enabling architecture of your nervous system. The emotion regulation insight came from studies examining how people process difficult memories during REM sleep. Researchers found that during REM, the brain revisits emotional experiences, but with reduced norepinephrine, a stress neurotransmitter. This allows memory consolidation without emotional reactivation. The memory remains but loses some of its emotional charge. However, if you don't reach adequate REM sleep, this processing can't occur. When rest is disrupted, unprocessed emotional memories accumulate. The backlog grows. Sleep becomes harder. Forgiveness helps break this cycle. It allows enough sleep for emotional processing. Once processing begins, sleep improves further. A beneficial cycle begins. Self-compassion revealed another mechanism. Researchers found that self-critical thoughts activated similar brain regions as external concerns. Your critical inner voice literally triggers alertness responses. Studies examining self-forgiveness found it specifically reduced this self-directed concern activation. When people practiced self-compassion, brain scans showed decreased amygdala activity and increased activity in regions associated with caregiving and warmth. They were essentially becoming a supportive presence to themselves rather than a harsh critic. At night, this meant less internal concern to remain vigilant against. The inner environment became safer. Sleep could happen more easily. Perspective-taking abilities provide more insight. Forgiveness often involves understanding the other person's circumstances, motivations, or struggles. Brain imaging showed that perspective-taking activated specific regions, the temporoparietal junction and medial prefrontal cortex. These regions help you simulate others' mental states. Activation here coincided with decreased amygdala activity. Understanding why someone hurt you didn't excuse the harm, but it released the interpretation of ongoing concern. They became human, flawed, struggling, not enemy or source of danger. This cognitive shift had neural correlates. The awareness system received new information. The assessment changed. The immune system connection revealed interesting mechanisms. Research showed that the vagus nerve has anti-inflammatory effects through what scientists call the cholinergic anti-inflammatory pathway. When activated, the vagus nerve releases acetylcholine, which inhibits inflammatory signaling. Forgiveness practices that activate the vagus nerve trigger this anti-inflammatory response. Inflammation decreased. Sleep quality improved. Inflammation disrupts sleep architecture. The mechanism formed a supportive loop. Forgiveness activates vagus nerve. Vagus nerve reduces inflammation. Reduced inflammation improves sleep. Better sleep supports emotional regulation. Emotional regulation enables more forgiveness. The cycle supported itself. Halfway through our journey now, the understanding is emerging more fully. Forgiveness helps you sleep because it addresses the fundamental requirement for rest, perceived safety. Unforgiveness maintains your nervous system in concern mode, elevated amygdala activity, quieter prefrontal regulation, high cortisol, sympathetic influence, inflammatory activation, disrupted neurochemistry. Each factor makes sleep more difficult. Forgiveness deactivates these barriers. It's not mystical. It's neurobiological. Your brain receives information. The concern is resolved. Vigilance is unnecessary. Rest is safe. Every system responds to this signal. Sleep becomes possible again. The breakthrough is complete. Pause here and take a deep breath. Notice this moment right now. While thoughts about past hurts might drift through your mind like clouds across sky, this present moment contains only safety. Your body is here, now, held by gravity, supported by earth. The past exists only in memory, the future only in imagination. This breath, right now, is real. This peace, available. Now we continue drifting. Now we explore how these changes happen at the cellular level. Sleep is when your brain performs maintenance. Cerebrospinal fluid flows more freely through your brain during deep sleep, washing away metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day. This includes beta-amyloid proteins and other cellular debris. Research from 2024 found that this glymphatic system, the brain's waste clearance system, functions most efficiently during the deepest sleep stages. People who don't reach these stages accumulate more waste over time. Studies showed that chronic stress and unforgiveness reduced time spent in these deep cleansing stages. Your brain couldn't perform its nightly housekeeping. Forgiveness, by improving sleep quality, allowed this essential maintenance to occur. The brain could clean itself properly again. Let's look at neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections and patterns. Every time you practice forgiveness, you're not just having a nice thought. You're literally rewiring neural pathways. Research using diffusion tensor imaging found that 8 weeks of forgiveness practice changed white matter tracts, the communication highways between brain regions. The connections between prefrontal cortex and amygdala strengthened. The pathways supporting rumination weakened. This wasn't temporary. Follow-up scans months later showed the changes persisted. Your brain had learned new default routes for processing difficult emotions. At night, these new pathways meant your brain naturally moved toward rest rather than rumination. The structure itself had changed. Heart rate variability deserves deeper exploration. This measure, the variation in milliseconds between heartbeats, reflects your autonomic nervous system's flexibility. When you're stressed, your heartbeat becomes more regular, almost mechanical. When you're relaxed and healthy, it varies more with each breath. This variation is actually a sign of health. Research tracking people through forgiveness interventions measured their heart rate variability daily. Within 2 weeks, measurable increases appeared. By 8 weeks, their HRV matched that of people who'd never held significant grudges. The nervous system had restored its flexibility. This flexibility translated directly to sleep. A flexible nervous system can transition smoothly from wakefulness to rest. Temperature regulation involves more than we discussed earlier. Your body's core temperature follows a circadian rhythm, dropping about 1 degree Fahrenheit during the night. This cooling triggers sleep-promoting mechanisms throughout your body. Research found that chronic stress disrupts this temperature rhythm through multiple pathways. Elevated cortisol increases metabolic rate. Muscle tension generates heat. Sympathetic activation constricts blood vessels in hands and feet, preventing heat release. Forgiveness interventions addressed each pathway. As stress hormones normalized, metabolism slowed. As muscles released, heat generation decreased. As parasympathetic activation increased, blood vessels dilated. The body could radiate excess heat. The temperature could drop naturally. Sleep became easier to initiate. Melatonin and cortisol work in opposition, like a seesaw. When cortisol rises, melatonin production decreases. When cortisol falls, melatonin can rise. This relationship is crucial for sleep. Research examining this relationship in detail found that the timing matters as much as the levels. Cortisol should peak around 8 a.m. and decline through the evening. Melatonin should begin rising around 9 p.m. In people holding grudges, cortisol stayed elevated later into the evening, suppressing melatonin's natural rise. Even at midnight, their melatonin levels remained lower than optimal. Forgiveness restored the natural timing of this hormonal seesaw. Cortisol fell when it should. Melatonin rose on schedule. Let's examine sleep spindles more closely. These brief bursts of brain activity during stage 2 sleep play a crucial role in memory consolidation and sleep maintenance. They protect your sleep from external disturbances and help transfer memories from temporary to long-term storage. Research found that people higher in forgiveness generated more sleep spindles per hour, sometimes 30 to 40% more than those low in forgiveness. More spindles meant more stable sleep and better memory processing. Unforgiveness appeared to disrupt the brain mechanisms that generate these spindles. Forgiveness allowed their natural production to resume. Your sleep became both deeper and more productive. Slow wave sleep, the deepest sleep stage, deserves special attention. This is when growth hormone releases, when tissues repair, when immune function strengthens. You cycle through slow wave sleep mostly in the first half of the night. Research tracking people through forgiveness programs found they gradually spent more minutes in slow wave sleep, not just slightly more. Some participants gained 20 to 30 minutes per night. Over a week, That's several hours of extra deep repair time. The body could rebuild more effectively. Physical recovery improved. People reported feeling more restored upon waking. The benefits weren't just psychological. They were cellular, physical, measurable. Dream content changes with forgiveness. Studies asking people to keep dream journals found patterns. Those holding grudges reported more dreams involving conflict, threat, or being chased. They experienced more nightmares. Those practicing forgiveness reported gradual shifts, fewer threat dreams, more neutral or positive content. This makes sense given what we know about REM sleep processing emotions. If you go to bed with unresolved anger, your brain processes that anger during REM. If you go to bed with released feelings and compassion, your brain processes those states instead. Your dreams reflect your emotional state. Forgiveness creates more peaceful dreams. Let's explore cytokines, the immune system's signaling molecules. Some cytokines promote inflammation, others reduce it. Research found that unforgiveness tilted the balance toward pro-inflammatory cytokines. These inflammatory signals reach the brain, affecting mood and sleep. One particular cytokine, interleukin-6, showed especially strong correlations. Higher IL-6 meant worse sleep quality and more depressive symptoms. Forgiveness interventions reduced IL-6 levels measurably. As inflammation decreased systemically, sleep improved. The connection was direct. Releasing difficult feelings reduced inflammatory signaling, which removed obstacles to sleep. Your immune system could shift from inflammatory alert to healing mode. Blood pressure patterns during sleep reveal more. Normally, blood pressure should drop 10 to 20% during sleep. Doctors call this dipping. Non-dippers, people whose blood pressure stays elevated at night, have increased cardiovascular risk. Research found that people holding significant grudges were more likely to be non-dippers. Their blood pressure remained elevated through the night. Studies tracking forgiveness interventions found that blood pressure dipping improved as forgiveness increased. The cardiovascular system could truly rest at night. Blood vessels could relax. The heart could work less hard. Sleep became more restorative to the cardiovascular system itself. Breathing rate variability mirrors heart rate variability. Just as healthy hearts show variation in beats, healthy breathing shows natural variation in pattern. Stressed breathing becomes more regular, controlled, shallow. Relaxed breathing varies naturally with thoughts, position, and sleep stage. Research measuring breathing throughout the night found that people practicing forgiveness showed more natural breathing variation during sleep. Their respiratory system could respond flexibly to the body's changing needs through different sleep stages. This flexibility indicated true parasympathetic dominance. The body was genuinely at rest, not just unconscious while remaining tense. Let's examine sleep inertia, that groggy feeling upon waking. Some people wake clear-headed, others feel foggy for an hour. Research found this relates to what stage you wake from and how well you slept overall. People with higher forgiveness scores reported less sleep inertia. They woke feeling more refreshed, alert faster. Their sleep had been deeper and more complete. The brain had finished its nightly processing before morning. Unforgiveness led to more sleep inertia. Waking felt harder because the brain hadn't completed its restorative work. True rest makes waking easier. Muscle recovery during sleep involves growth hormone and reduced cortisol. Your muscles repair microtears from daily activity during deep sleep. Research with athletes found that those practicing forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness for performance mistakes, showed better muscle recovery markers. They had lower levels of creatine kinase, a marker of muscle damage. The next day, better sleep from forgiveness meant more effective physical recovery. This wasn't limited to athletes. Anyone's muscles recover better with quality sleep. Forgiveness contributed to physical healing through its sleep-enhancing effects. Appetite regulation connects to sleep through hormones called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin signals fullness. Ghrelin signals hunger. Poor sleep disrupts these hormones, increasing ghrelin and decreasing leptin. You feel hungrier after a bad night's sleep. Research found that improving sleep through forgiveness interventions normalized these appetite hormones. People reported more natural hunger cues and less late-night snacking. Sleep improvement from forgiveness had downstream effects on eating patterns. The body's regulatory systems are interconnected. Improving one improves others. Insulin sensitivity changes with sleep quality. Poor sleep makes cells less responsive to insulin, affecting blood sugar regulation. Research tracking people through forgiveness programs found improved insulin sensitivity as sleep improved. Their bodies processed glucose more effectively. This had implications for diabetes risk and energy levels throughout the day. Better sleep from forgiveness supported metabolic health. The connection between emotional well-being, sleep, and physical metabolism became undeniable. Forgiveness wasn't just mental health work, it was whole-body health work. Let's look at sleep efficiency, the percentage of time in bed actually spent asleep. Healthy sleep efficiency is 85 to 90%. People with unforgiveness often had efficiency below 75%. They lay awake for hours. Forgiveness interventions improved sleep efficiency toward healthy ranges. They fell asleep faster, woke less often, returned to sleep more quickly after waking. More minutes in bed became actual sleep minutes. The quality-quantity combination improved. 8 hours in bed finally meant 7 hours of actual sleep. Social support and forgiveness interact. People with supportive relationships found forgiveness easier. People who forgave experienced improved relationships, creating positive cycles. Research found these social improvements further enhanced sleep. Feeling connected and supported activates parasympathetic responses. Feeling isolated activates stress responses. Forgiveness often restored social connections that had frayed. These restored connections provided additional sleep benefits beyond forgiveness alone. Human connection is fundamental to nervous system regulation. We're social creatures. Forgiveness often meant returning to the community of connection. Pain processing in the brain changes with sleep. The same pain feels more intense when you're tired. Research with chronic pain patients showed that forgiveness practices, especially forgiving themselves for limitations, improved both pain and sleep. The two improvements reinforced each other. Better sleep meant less pain. Less pain meant better sleep. Breaking into this cycle from the forgiveness angle proved effective. The mind's relationship to suffering affected the body's experience of pain. Let's explore sleep timing. Some people are natural early birds, others are night owls. This chronotype is partly genetic but also influenced by stress. chronic stress can shift your natural rhythm later, making it hard to fall asleep at a reasonable hour. Forgiveness interventions helped people return to their natural chronotype. Evening people could fall asleep earlier. Their circadian rhythm normalized as stress decreased. Your natural sleep timing could reassert itself. Nap quality improves with forgiveness too. Studies examining daytime naps found that people holding grudges had less restorative naps. Even a 20-minute nap provided less refreshment. People practicing forgiveness reported more refreshing naps, waking energized rather than groggy. The nervous system's state affects rest at all times, not just nighttime. When your baseline is calmer, all rest becomes more effective. Even brief rest periods restore you. The relationship between forgiveness and sleep creates what researchers call an upward spiral. Better sleep makes forgiveness easier. Easier forgiveness creates better sleep. Each reinforces the other. Studies showed people entering this spiral maintained improvements long term. They weren't forcing it anymore. The new pattern became self-sustaining. Your biology wanted peace. Given the chance, it naturally moved toward balance, restoration, health. Long-term brain structure changes appear with sustained forgiveness practice. Studies following people for a year found measurable increases in gray matter density in regions associated with emotion, regulation, and empathy. The prefrontal cortex actually grew slightly thicker. These structural changes meant the easier sleep wasn't just habit. The brain had physically adapted. New capacity for peace became built into your neural architecture. Genetic expression changes with chronic stress and with stress relief. Research in the field of epigenetics found that forgiveness interventions altered which genes were active. Genes associated with inflammation decreased their expression. Genes associated with repair increased. Your DNA stayed the same, but how it expressed itself changed. Forgiveness influenced biology at the genetic level, affecting which proteins your cells produced. Telomeres, protective caps on chromosomes, shorten with stress and aging. Some research suggests better sleep may slow this shortening. While the direct link between forgiveness and telomeres needs more study, the pathway through sleep and stress reduction is plausible. Taking care of emotional health might influence cellular aging. Every cell in your body benefits from the peace forgiveness creates. We arrive now at a fuller understanding. Forgiveness helps you sleep through dozens of interconnected mechanisms. Neural, hormonal, immunological, psychological, social. Each mechanism influences others. Together they create a system that either spirals toward tension and sleeplessness or toward peace and rest. Forgiveness is the intervention point that shifts the entire system's direction. Your whole biology responds when you choose release. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Notice the cycles. Your heart beats, then rests. Your lungs fill, then empty. Day becomes night, becomes day. All of life moves in rhythms, cycles, waves. Even difficult experiences come and go, rise and fall. You don't need to hold on to anything. Let everything unfold in its perfect order, like tides moving in and out, unhurried, unresisting, simply flowing. We're almost there now. As we move toward completion, the science becomes poetry. All these mechanisms, brain circuits, hormones, immune molecule, waves of sleep, they're your body's ancient language of peace. Forgiveness speaks this language fluently. When you forgive, you're not just having a kind thought. You're communicating with every cell, every system. It's safe now. We can rest. Healing may begin. Your body has been waiting for this message. This permission to finally stop guarding against a hurt that lives only in memory now. Consider this. You are the only one who can grant yourself this permission. No one else can reach into your nervous system and quiet the alarm. No one else can tell your amygdala the threat has passed. This is your power, your choice, available in every moment. Forgiveness isn't weakness or passivity. It's the strongest thing you can do, consciously choosing to release your body from its vigilant stance, allowing systems designed for rest to finally function as intended. Your body wants to forgive. Every system we've explored naturally moves toward balance when given the chance. Your prefrontal cortex wants to regulate emotions effectively. Your vagus nerve wants to activate rest. Your hormones want to follow their circadian rhythms. Your immune system wants to repair rather than inflame. You're not forcing something unnatural when you forgive. You're removing obstacles to your biology's natural preference for peace, for healing, for rest. Sleep is your body's nightly forgiveness of the day. Each night, your brain releases the tensions held, processes the emotions felt, integrates the experiences lived. In deep sleep, you forgive your body its tiredness. In REM sleep, you forgive memories, their emotional charge. Every sunrise is a fresh start because every night allows release. Practicing forgiveness while awake aligns with this natural nightly process. You're consciously cooperating with what sleep does automatically. The evolutionary perspective reveals something beautiful. For millions of years, organisms that could release stress after danger passed survived better. Those that couldn't exhausted themselves maintaining vigilance. Forgiveness is ancient biological wisdom. Your ancestors who learned to distinguish between present threat and past hurt, who could settle after conflict ended. They're the ones who survived to pass down their genes to you. This capacity for release lives in you. It's your inheritance. Think about children. They feel hurt deeply, intensely. Yet watch how quickly they return to play, to joy, to rest. They haven't learned yet to maintain grudges. Their nervous systems naturally release. As adults, we've learned to hold on, believing it protects us. But perhaps that child wisdom was correct all along. Perhaps the quick release, the easy return to peace, the unguarded sleep. Perhaps that's what health actually looks like. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing harm. It means choosing to stop replaying the hurt, choosing to stop activating your stress response about something you cannot change. The past happened. Forgiveness acknowledges this while releasing your body from continuously reacting to it. You can remember the lesson without maintaining the wound. You can protect yourself going forward without punishing yourself nightly with the memory. This distinction liberates. Your sleep reveals what you hold. If you struggle to rest, perhaps ask gently, what am I not releasing? Who haven't I forgiven? Others, circumstances, to myself. Your body answers this question every night through restless hours or peaceful surrender. Insomnia is often an invitation to forgiveness. Your nervous system is asking for permission to finally rest. The question isn't whether you should forgive. It's whether you'll keep paying the biological cost of not forgiving. Consider self-forgiveness especially. That voice reminding you of every mistake, every inadequacy, every moment you fell short. It keeps your nervous system activated against yourself. You become both the threat and the threatened. No wonder sleep eludes you. Self-forgiveness means recognizing your humanity, your inevitable imperfection. You've done the best you could with what you knew then. Tonight, you can rest from the exhausting work of self-judgment. Forgiveness is a practice, not a single moment. Some hurts release quickly. Others require patient, repeated choosing. Like learning any skill, it becomes easier with practice. Your brain forms new pathways. Your nervous system establishes new baselines. What felt impossible at first becomes natural. The neural pathways of grudge holding weaken. The pathways of release strengthen. Gradually, peace becomes your new default. The research shows forgiveness helps sleep. But deeper than research, wisdom traditions across millennia have taught this. Every culture developed practices of release, of letting go, of ritual forgiveness. They knew, without brain scans or cortisol measurements, what science now confirms. Humans need release to thrive. We need to set down the burden. Our bodies, our sleep, our health depend on this practice. Tonight is an opportunity. The forgiveness you practice today affects the sleep you have tonight. The sleep you have tonight affects your capacity for forgiveness tomorrow. You can enter this beneficial cycle anytime you choose. Right now, in this moment, you can begin. Not perfectly, not completely. Just begin. Your body will respond. Your nervous system will notice. Your sleep will gradually improve. Imagine sleeping peacefully, deeply, completely. No restless reviewing of wrongs. No cycling through resentments. Just your body, finally given permission to rest fully. This isn't fantasy. This is available to you. The science shows the pathway. Forgiveness opens it. Your own experience can confirm it. Try releasing one small thing tonight. Notice how your body responds. Let your sleep teach you. We've journeyed through neural circuits, hormonal cascades, immune response, sleep architecture. All of it points to one truth. Your body is designed for peace, not perpetual stress. When you align with this design through forgiveness, everything functions better. Sleep is the clearest signal. If you can rest deeply, peacefully, completely, your body is telling you something true about forgiveness. So, does forgiveness help you sleep better? Science says yes. Measurably, consistently, significantly. But more than science, your own experience will tell you. Try releasing resentment. Notice your sleep. Try forgiving yourself. Notice your rest. Your body won't lie to you. It will show you through the quality of your nights whether forgiveness works. The answer lives in your experience. The real question isn't whether forgiveness helps sleep. The real question is, are you willing to try? Are you willing to release what's keeping your nervous system activated? Are you willing to give your body permission to rest? The science provides evidence. The practice provides results. The choice, as always, is yours. Tonight could be different. Remember, you're not forgiving for them. You're forgiving for you, for your sleep, for your health, for your peace, for the quality of your days and the rest of your nights. This is self-care at the deepest level. This is choosing your own well-being over the satisfaction of maintained resentment. This is biological wisdom, choosing peace. Your sleep is a gift you give yourself each night. Forgiveness unwraps that gift fully. Without forgiveness, sleep remains partial, guarded, incomplete. With forgiveness, sleep becomes what it's meant to be. Complete restoration, profound rest, total renewal. Every system in your body performs better with this full rest. Forgiveness gives you access to your body's full restorative capacity. Think about what you're defending by not forgiving. A version of events that may not even be accurate. A hurt that's already happened and can't be changed. A grudge that costs you nightly in sleep, daily in energy, constantly in peace. Is it worth this price, or could you set it down? Like putting down a heavy bag you've carried too long. Forgiveness isn't about them deserving it. It's about you deserving peace. You deserve to sleep deeply. You deserve to wake restored. You deserve a nervous system at rest. You deserve cortisol that follows healthy rhythms. You deserve a brain that processes memories without pain. You deserve all of this. Forgiveness is how you claim it. Not by being weak, by being wise. As our journey nears completion, recognize what you've learned. The connection between holding on and sleeplessness. The link between releasing and rest. The science underlying ancient wisdom. The biological cost of grudges. The healing power of letting go. You came here seeking understanding of why forgiveness helps sleep. Perhaps you're leaving with something more valuable. The understanding that you have the power to sleep peacefully tonight. Your body has been speaking to you through your sleep, or lack of it. Restless nights are a message. Something needs release. Peaceful sleep is confirmation. You're aligned with your nature. Listen to what your body teaches. It's wiser than you might think. It knows what it needs. It needs forgiveness of others, of circumstances, of yourself, to fully rest. Honor this need. Tomorrow will come, whether you sleep well or poorly. But the quality of your tomorrow depends significantly on the quality of tonight's rest. And the quality of tonight's rest depends on what you're willing to release. This isn't moral philosophy. This is practical biology. Forgiveness improves sleep. Better sleep improves life. It's that simple, that profound, that available to you right now. There's a reason forgiveness is central to healing traditions worldwide. Not because it's easy, because it's necessary. Necessary for community, yes, but necessary also for the individual body, the individual nervous system, the individual sleep. Your ancestors knew. Modern science confirms. Your body demonstrates. Forgiveness isn't optional for deep healing. It's foundational. And sleep is where you'll feel the truth of this most clearly. We end where we began, with the observation that forgiveness helps sleep. But now you understand the how. The brain circuits shifting, the hormones normalizing, the immune system calming, the nervous system settling, the entire biological orchestra tuning to the frequency of peace. Forgiveness is the conductor. Sleep is the symphony that plays when everything is aligned. Tonight, you have the chance to let this symphony play. The baton is in your hand. And so, our quiet journey through the mystery of forgiveness and sleep comes to a gentle close. We've traveled from the science of threat responses and amygdala activation to the poetry of nervous systems finding peace again, discovering along the way that sleep is fundamentally about safety, and forgiveness is how you tell your body the concern is resolved. From brain circuits holding difficult feelings to the vagus nerve singing songs of rest, we've glimpsed how healing is not just emotional, it's biological, cellular, woven into every system in your body, waiting for permission to release. Forgiveness reminds us that peace is not weakness but biological wisdom. Your body knows, at levels deeper than conscious thought, that holding on to hurt exhausts your limited energy. Sleep is where repair happens, where memories soften, where tomorrow becomes possible. Without the ability to release, we remain caught in yesterday's pain. By choosing to forgive ourselves, others, life itself, we activate ancient healing pathways, allowing rest to finally come. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about consciousness itself. Yours, mine, everyone listening. All awareness everywhere. Perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. If this thoughtful exploration of the mind made you relax, fall asleep, or sparked curiosity tonight, a gentle like and subscribe helps other sleepless souls discover this peaceful space too. It only takes a moment, but it means the world to us. One quiet tap, one sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now. Nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, farther than most journeys take you. You can allow these thoughts of forgiveness to fade now, like morning mist dissolving into warm light, leaving only the gentle calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if Earth itself is gently pulling you down into soft embrace. If sleep comes, let it carry you like a leaf floating downstream, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, the science of healing will still be there. Your nervous system will still know how to find peace. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, peaceful soul. And remember, forgiveness is not about them. It's about finally giving yourself permission to sleep. Dream deeper with bedtime science. Good night.